Hello everyone, it's Kelly here again and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another monthly bullet journal setup. This month, the month of March 2019, I am going to be doing something very particular that probably not everyone here is going to be familiar with, just because it's something that I grew up with when I was younger. Now, first off, let's just take a quick look at my last month's bullet journal setup. I do have a video here on this channel if you'd like to check it out. I will link it in the description down below or in the cards. My last month's theme was a steampunk theme and I am completely in love with it still. I think it's my best theme yet, and if you like to check it out, you know where to find it. Now on to this month's theme. As I mentioned, I chose something very particular, and that is Witch. Now, if you don't know what Witch is, it is a Disney comic book. It's an Italian comic book series about these 5 teenage girls who one day discover that they have magical abilities, and they're actually the chosen ones and are supposed to be the guardians of the world and universe. So these 5 girls go to this school, Heatherfield, and they have to keep a secret that they're actually magical creatures and they are the guardians of all the realms and all of the planets and all of the creatures and multiple universes and whatnot. Now, this was a series of comic books that was popular back in 2001, 2005, at least here in Bulgaria. That's when we got it. That's when I was reading it. So I was in the 4th grade to 7th grade, and later on, there were 100 issues or 100 and something, and like I said, they were a Disney production from their Italian studio. They were made into a TV show later on, but honestly, the TV show was so bad, just don't bother with it. I know that there are some places where you can find the comic books online and you can read them. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna link those below for obvious reasons, but I am aware that you can find them online. Now, these 5 girls are Will, Irma, Tarani, Cornelia, and Helen, and they are very close friends. Each one is the guardian of a different element. For instance, Irma is the guardian of water, Tarani is the guardian of fire, Cornelia is the guardian of earth, and Helen is the guardian of air. And Will is actually kind of like their leader, and she is the guardian of the heart of Kendricker, which is a jewel that has the ability to have just pure energy, and it combines all of their elements and combines all of their power. So she is kind of like the leader of the group. All 5 girls have very different characters. They have very different upbringings, and I think what the best part about it was that when you're a kid and you read about these magical girls, you can identify with different characteristics from each one, or just one in particular. My personal favorite was Cornelia. She had long blonde hair just like me, blue eyes just like me, and I really loved her character. I tried to do a little something for all of them here on my spread. So right now what I'm doing is I'm creating my first page, which is my quote page, and also like a little drawing. This, what you see right now, the little doodle of a jewel, this is actually the heart of Kendricker. This is the one that Will guards, so it is interested to her. And I wanted to do something more creative and make it seem like it's watercolor and scribbles, something along those lines. And I'm not gonna lie, I struggled quite a bit with this spread, just because I did want to do it, but at the same time I wasn't completely feeling it. So there were moments where I messed up majorly. For instance, in the beginning, you might have seen that there was actually the magical castle of Kendricker on the right page. It was sketched out. Also, I am sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Honestly, I read them in Bulgarian, so I have no idea how to pronounce it. But yeah, so on the right there was the castle, and I did end up finishing that page, but I just really didn't like it, so I ended up cutting out a page from the back of my bullet journal and sticking it on top. You can still kind of see the castle, but I mean, I guess I kind of made it work. But yeah, I just stuck the pages together and I covered it up, and it's a lot better now. The technique I'm using currently and the one that I used on the jewel is something that I was thinking about doing it in a more creative way. This is what I came up with, making it seem kind of like watercolor splatters without actually using watercolor, because my bullet journal pages are very thin and it would have buckled up quite a bit. But I would scribble with some regular marker, water-based marker, on a piece of plastic, and then take it with a little brush, or just stick the piece of plastic with the watered down marker ink onto the page, and it would create these wonderful splatters. I really love the way it turned out. I added some pink and some purple just to make it more interesting. I did go a little overboard on some pages. You will see that in further on in this video. Also here where I did my tiny little calendar, I also went a little bit stir crazy with these splatters, and you can't really tell what I'm what it says, but you know, I know, so that's, I guess, what's important. And before you call me out, I am aware that I actually made a mistake on my quote. So the quote that I wrote on the left side above the jewel is "Be a seeker for everyday magic," and I do believe that the actual quote is "Be a seeker of everyday magic," but I had already covered up this quote part and did it again a second time, and the second time was actually again a mistake, so I just left it like that. It's not too wrong, I think. I don't know if somebody whose English is who's a native English speaker, please do let me know if it's completely wrong, or if I could leave it just with like "for everyday magic," because honestly I don't think it's that bad. Anyway, on the bottom of my first pages, I added these really interesting clouds that I saw in one of the magazines, and I mean one of the comic books, and yeah, that's it for the first page. Now we're moving on to the second page, where I do my overview. And in the first series, in the first 12 comic books, the girls had this map. Halen had this map entrusted to her, which had all of the magical portals that the girls needed to close because magical creatures were leaking kind of into their world, and that was not supposed to happen. So what I did is I tried to replicate this little map scroll into on my page and make it look like this was my calendar. And on this page I actually added a little bit for each one. So you see the little frog stamp on this crow. This was meant to represent Will because she was obsessed with frogs. On the right you see a little plant that is supposed to be for Cornelia because she had the earth element and she loved flowers. The circle glasses are Tyranny's. The headphones are Irma's because she really loved music and it was her life. And the little alien was for Halen because she was obsessed with aliens. I ended up adding a little sticker on the right side of the page that says a witch. It's an official witch sticker. I believe we got it in one of the comic books when I was a kid, and I am kind of a sticker hoarder and I save all of my stickers and kind of things that I like the way that they look, and I just save them, and like cutouts and tickets and stuff like that. So I have acquired quite a few stickers, especially witch stickers, over the years, and there's like no way that I'm gonna use them. There's no place I can use them, so I ended up using them here in my bullet journal, and I think that it worked just fine. And right here you can actually see where I'm taking out the sticker. You can actually see some of the art for the comic books as well, because the art is just so magical and it's just so beautiful, and it's definitely not the typical Disney style, because Disney style have very soft and kind of circly style, or just like squishy, and I believe that when it was coming out, they said, like, the authors and the artists said that they're supposed to mimic more of like an anime style and Eastern animation style. So they did kind of like a hybrid between the two styles. On the next page, I actually did my habit tracker and my mood tracker. And for my habit tracker, I had this idea of using one of their wings because they they transform into their magical versions. And in their magical versions, they actually have these tiny little wings that are supposed to be kind of like butterfly wings. And on those wings, I added with a white gel pen the different habits, and my idea was that each day that I do a certain thing, I am going to write it inside the wing. And at least that was my idea. We'll see how it turns out because my markers are just a little bit too dark, so my pens are not showing up, but maybe I'll use a white gel pen. I don't know, we'll see. But that was my idea. On the right side, I did some bubbles and some circles that I am going to fill in with a different color every day, and that's going to be my mood trackers. And on the bottom, I did a little legend, and in there I added all of the girls' signs because they each have like a little sign that is supposed to represent their element or their character, and I assigned each one a different mood or way that I feel, and yeah, I'm going to use the colors and fill in the circles above. I did actually put some splatters on these two pages as well. I ended up shortening it and just cutting it out of the video because this was already a mile long of a video. So you will see it in the final flip through. I do just include it, just the before and after right here, just so you can get an idea. The next page I kind of struggled with just because I didn't know how to combine them. I wanted to do more creative stuff. I wanted to do more incorporating of different elements from the comic books. In the end, I did my to-do list and my future log kind of just up on a page, and I used little check boxes instead of check boxes. I used little clouds, and for my books that I read and my movies and TV shows that I watched, I did the same thing on the other side. So on the left side, I have my social media tracker that is supposed to be I don't know, a tambourine, is that what it's called? It's one of the girls' magical artifact. So in the more advanced issues of the comic book, they each have a new power and a new transformation style, and so they each have this new artifact and new power that is controlled by this artifact. So this tambourine is Irma's artifact and the fan is Helen's, and I just love the aesthetic of those two, so that's why I included them. And on my last page, I added a sleep log, which I am very, very eager to keep incorporating into my spreads because this is definitely something that I want to track, at least for the time being, because I do work shifts and it just helps me see when I sleep more how I feel and when I sleep less how I feel, because I do have some health issues and I think they are somewhat connected to my sleeping patterns. So I'll just explore that for the time being. So on the left I have my sleeping log, and on the right I just have some clouds, and that's supposed to be my brain dump. I'm probably not gonna fill in my brain dump just because I never do, especially when I leave like an entire page just for that. I never end up filling it the whole thing, but maybe I'll stick something interesting. Maybe I'll stick another sticker in here as well, because I do end up having just a few more stickers here and there on the pages. Anyway, we're getting into the quick flip through. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below if you know what which is, if you enjoyed the comics, if you enjoyed my spread, or if you have no idea and need more information about the comic books because you want to read them or it seems interesting to you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!